Hey guys, it's Chris from Lightyear. Really excited to be bringing you this product update for Q1 2021. We've been working really hard to innovate and continue to deliver some really awesome feature enhancements over the last 3 months. And we know it's difficult to stay on top of all of the features because we do release quite quickly. So we're pulling together this product update video to hopefully give those of you who prefer to listen or watch a video rather than read the opportunity to get up to speed with what we've done. So what we're going to cover today is some purchase order enhancements that we've made. Also our automated coding by line description. We'll be looking at our new automated bill routing approval by value. I'll touch on some of our data extraction enhancements we've made. Of course, data extraction is the bread and butter of Lightyear. I'll show you guys our new inclusive, exclusive, and no tax toggle that allows you to enter values inclusive or exclusive of tax. Touching on a few archive reporting enhancements. I'll show you guys how you can now send supplier communications directly from Lightyear, which we've always had, but you can now mask your external email. So if you prefer those emails to come from abc@companyaa.com, we now have that capability. A few additional export enhancements we've made. We'll show you how you can also export data to your third-party accountancy software system before it's been approved, if that's what you wish. And lastly, I'll touch on some partner updates. We've launched some really awesome new partnerships and also made some great enhancements to the APIs with our existing core partners. So without further ado, let's get into it. We released our purchase order feature into beta in December. And so far we've had great feedback and a lot of uptake. So we've continued to enhance the functionality around purchase orders. The first thing we've done is improve and bring in our task approver function. Similarly to how Task Approver works in our current bill approval workflow, you can now select a task approver if you need someone to approve a purchase order. Simply select a user from the drop-down, type your note. You can also use the manager approval function. If you don't know what that is, you can read more in the link, but this allows you to automatically assign a secondary approver to an initial approver. You hit send. You now have a pending task with all of the usual information. You can send a reminder, etc. And the person will then have received that task in their My Tasks awaiting approval section. As per current functionality, they can then approve this via mobile app, email, or via this user interface in the desktop, depending on how they've set up their preferences. Whilst here, we've released another enhancement to the tasks area. We've heard more and more of you are using this My Tasks approval function, so we've invested time to make this more user-friendly. A big request we'd heard was that some approvers want to be able to edit data. Some of you don't want your approvers editing data, and some of you do. And that makes total sense depending on your business workflow. So we've now introduced an optional user setting, which can be found within users, within their profile at the bottom, edit approval settings. And if you have that ticked as a user, when I view my bill, I now have an edit doc tab. And if I'm allowed to, I can go in and edit data. This is really useful for businesses where the approvers need to, for example, select a department or a GL code or something like that. So this has now been released and it's going down really well. I'll just move out of this area. So that is the approval enhancements that we have released within the purchase order workflow. Just note that that edit function is also available for bills, purchase orders, credit notes, any task approval that arrives at a user. They can do those edits if they have permission. The next thing we've done within purchase orders is we've put in a new setting within users. You can now allow users to void a purchase order. So after it's been ordered, if for some reason you don't need that purchase order, you can just void it. Voided bills will still be recorded forever as a void status within your archive under purchase orders. You can also elect to give certain users the ability to edit a document after it's been ordered. So for example, if you don't know the price of a goods, you might create a purchase order for $100. The bill might come in, the goods might be $90, and you want to allow certain people to be able to edit that initial purchase order to match the bill. We've now, again, brought that in as an optional setting. A couple of other enhancements we've made is within purchase orders. We've got this little preview button, so at any stage you can preview your purchase order. We now allow you to, within settings, attach terms and conditions pages. So within company settings, purchase orders, down here under terms and conditions, I can upload any PDF of T's and C's. So create your terms and conditions in Word or Adobe, whatever, and save it as PDF. Drag it in to this area. And every single purchase order that gets created and sent to your supply chain will then have supplementary pages with those terms and conditions. A PO is a legally binding document, so we know this is really important for you guys to include with your purchase orders that go to your supply chain. The last thing we've released, which is really cool, and this is for both purchase orders and anywhere within the application, if for example you're editing any of your bills or credit notes, etc., is if I choose my supplier, delivery address, stuff like that, we've now got a type ahead feature. So we reference your product list, and as you type, we will allow you to select product data and populate information. So for example, if I select bones, you'll see we populate the product code, the price, tax code, GL codes, classes, anything you have set within your product list area, which for clarification, in case anybody is not sure what I'm referencing, if I go into my suppliers, go to Andrew's Meat, I've got a product list uploaded. Within here, I've got all of these sort of product settings areas that I can populate. So that's really handy. So allowing you guys to create purchase orders for goods really, really quickly with predefined prices. Lightyear has always allowed you to automate bookkeeping rules and coding by supplier and by product code. This is something that we've always seen as a really strong, unique sell point in the market. What we have now introduced is 2 additional automation criteria for automating your GL codes and tracking categories. If I go to a supplier profile, within here, I have now additional options. The first of which is a description. So this is our familiar product area where you can choose your product code description, set your certain criteria within here for your settings, tracking categories, GL codes, etc., price checking, all of that goodness. What you can now do also is set a rule on the description. Description rules can have 3 criteria: an exact match, contains, does not contain. Quite simply, you enter whatever the matching text is you wish to match against. You then select your GL coding and your tracking categories and the criteria. And as the document arrives into Lightyear, we will automate the different rules if this particular matching text is found on the line level. The other way that you can automate rules is by keyword rule. This automation occurs at a supplier level. The main use case we're seeing for this is around postcodes and multiple locations. So what I could do, for example, in the keyword rule for the document is type in a specific postcode, for example. When our software extracts the data, if it finds this particular postcode, you can then assign certain rules against that. And you can also trigger an approver. So for multiple location businesses using Lightyear, you can set up, for example, a keyword rule in each supplier for your specific location. that will set the tracking category to that location and trigger an approval request to the specific manager at that location for that supplier. So with these two enhancements, we now have four ways to code a bill. And the hierarchy is, number one, if your keyword rule is set and it's found, that will trigger those rules at a supplier level. Next, if a keyword rule is not found, it will then look for, has there been any product rules found? And if so, it will trigger those on the line level with the relevant setting. If no product rules are found on the line, it will then look for any description rules. And lastly, if there's no keyword, product, or description rules found, it will then look to apply the supplier level defaults from down here if these are set. And if these are not set, then no rules will be applied. So there's 4 levels now of different criteria to assign your rules. Rules by description has been a really big ask for quite a while, so we're really excited to bring this into the product. One of the most requested features we've had at Lightyear is the ability to route documents for approval based on the value of the document. And we're really excited to be releasing this into product this week. From within your company settings area, if you have double approval selected, you will now notice a new option, Approval by Value. By selecting yes, this will give you additional options. And what you can now do is set up to 2 separate approval conditions that will automatically trigger additional executive approval requirements based on the value of the document. For example, if I say approval condition 1 is over 50 Australian dollars, then Candice must approve, and I save that. I now go into the approvals workflow. This particular IKEA receipt is over $50. So if I now send that through to the review tab, I now must send this for approval. So previously you could have signed this off, but because I have a conditional requirement that has to have an approval because it's over $50, I now click send for approval, and this triggers a task off to Candice. And you'll see that I cannot sign this document off until the bill has been approved by Candice. What you can also do, if I go back to company settings, you can auto trigger this approval as the document enters the review tab. So if I select yes here, and I then approve this document from the approvals into the review, you'll see this is auto triggered an approval request to Candice. So you can use this either way. If you wish for someone doing your bookkeeping role to review the data in the review before sending off the executive conditional request, you would do the first option. If you want documents to immediately transition through to the relevant executive approvals, you would use this second option. What I can also do is add a second condition and say, if the document is over, for example, $100, then let's say demo user must approve. And then you can either select as well as. So in this scenario, a request would go to Candice, and then a request would go to demo user second, or instead of. So if, for example, you want bills over $100 to skip Candice and go directly to the second user, but bills between 50 and 100 to go to Candice, you would have this setting. And if I now go to the approvals tab and send that through to the review, you'll see in this condition, it's now went to the demo user. If I switch this back to have as well as, it's now going to ask for 2 approval steps. As you can see, this now creates 2 separate steps that are required. So Candice must now approve this, then demo user 2, and then the document will be signed off. Of course, any documents that are under the value will not require these conditions, so they can be signed off as per usual. The other cool thing we've done is build in foreign exchange lookup. So each day we will pull in the exchange rate of the day. So for any of our Lightyear customers that are dealing with multi-currency, this trigger will also trigger on different currency bills in the local equivalent of your condition. So if, for example, it was 100 Australian dollars and you had a bill in US dollars, and let's say the $100 on that day was 70 US, that would trigger the condition if the bill was over 70 US dollars. This has been a much requested feature, as I mentioned. I'm really excited for this to be going into the product. We've also introduced a tax inclusive and exclusive toggle. So now when you're entering data or changing data or viewing data, you can now change this to show you the inclusive amounts. You'll notice on the panels that as I change this toggle, it goes from, for example, 155 excluding tax. If I go inclusive, it's now showing me the inclusive amount. Again, really useful if you're entering data manually, for example, for a bill, and you only have the inclusive amounts. I can now enter the inclusive amounts, which will calculate the tax, and that will save a lot of time. Of course, at Lightyear, our bread and butter is data extraction, and we continually work on our data extraction functionality. We've recently released 2 enhancements to this. First of all, Lightyear can now extract data from invoices with line data split across more than one row. So if, for example, you have a product code above a description, previously we could only extract the product code or description. Now we can extract both pieces of data. We've also built in functionality to automatically split a single line with split taxable components. So if, for example, you have a supplier that sends you an invoice, and at the end of the invoice, they summarize in one row taxable and non-taxable components, what we can now do is work out from that one line and the tax amount, well, what would the taxable row and the non-taxable be? And we will populate 2 rows based off that one row of data, a massive time saver. We've also made enhancements to our archive reporting area. You will now notice there are many more options from the 3 dots in panel 1, where you can see much more information in the archive. Information such as who approved, signed off, exported information, keyword rules, and also we've added the task approver. You can also sort all of these columns, making it really easy to access your data quickly. For any of you that are also using the export to file feature, which creates a CSV dump of this result, we've now added a final column which will provide you with a unique URL that will link back to the source document, giving you ease of use and ease of accessibility if you ever wish to quickly link back to the document that is in question on the CSV export. For QuickBooks Online users, we've released the ability to sync across billable hours and related customers, billable expenses. So what you'll now see, this is for QuickBooks Online only, if in your company settings, under accountancy software settings, you've activated the billable function, you can now mark individual rows or all rows as billable and select the relevant customer for that particular row. You'll also note that we can split the rows. So this is a really deep functionality, and we've had a lot of requests for this from QuickBooks Online customers. Once you now export this document across to QuickBooks, we will sync all of your information, including GL, tracking category, classes, locations, and also your customers that may be marked as billable, allowing you to easily associate billable costs to your customer sales invoices. Another frequent request we've had is the ability, when you send information from Lightyear, to link it from an external email. So from within Lightyear, you can email suppliers from many different areas. You can email from the purchase order area when you're ordering purchase orders. You can also email directly if you're querying a particular invoice. And you can also email directly from the supplier statement reconciliation area if you need to chase outstanding invoices. What you can now do within the company settings area at the bottom, and this is currently available for purchase orders, but we're about to change that with the next release. You will now be able to link to an external email address by selecting this option, entering in your external company email. You will then receive a verification email to that external email, which you will click a button, and that will authorize Lightyear to then send automated communications from that external email, meaning all of your suppliers will receive the communication from that external email. Another feature we've released, we've heard that certain customers, for various reasons, would like to get their information into their third-party accounting ERP system as quickly as possible. So most Lightyear customers want to approve data before it goes because they want to make sure the data is valid and it is an approved bill for payment. But if you would rather get the data in as quickly as possible for maybe reporting reasons, or you want to get the data in to run, outstanding reports for end of month, we've now inputted the export button into the initial approval area. So you can now export from here. And when you export, we have now also will show you an exported icon. So you'll be able to see which documents you have exported. If you then exported a document already, and you know it's been exported because of the icon, what you would simply do is add that document to the archive rather than re-exporting the data because it's already in your accounting software or ERP system. The last thing I wanted to talk through was two really exciting enhancements regards our partnerships. We've recently announced a partnership with Accounts IQ. Accounts IQ are an industry-leading mid-market accounting solution focused on improving productivity, streamlining processes, and giving businesses better insights. And they really focus on the large SME mid-market and multiple location, which is, again, a really good sweet spot for Lightyear. So we're really excited about this partnership, and if you'd like to learn more, please click through the link on the blog. We've also released a Microsoft Dynamics 365 CSV integration. So for any Microsoft Dynamics customers, you can now select Dynamics from our accounting integrations dropdown, and this will pre-format and pre-populate a CSV download format when you export your bills and credit notes. And this can then be simply sucked into Microsoft Dynamics, allowing you a very seamless integration. If you would like to learn more, please feel free to read the blog link or get in contact with our team. I really hope you enjoyed that share out. But what's equally as exciting is what we have coming up. None more so than our bill to purchase order automated matching feature. We've heard loud and clear over the last number of months since we've launched our purchase order feature that no one in the market is providing line-by-line automated invoice to and bill to PO matching. We've been working hard on this feature, and I'm excited to say that we're only a couple of weeks away. What this will allow you to do is create your purchase orders, and then Lightyear will automatically cross-reference all of the bills and credit notes that are received line by line, and we will present to you detailed line-by-line matching. This will allow you to match single line PO to multiple line bills and vice versa, single line bills to multiple line POs. We're pretty confident that this is going to be a world first in terms of the depth of the functionality, and we're really excited to bring this to you. What we're also building is the ability to extract data from externally created purchase orders. So we know that some of you are not able to use Lightyear's purchase order creation module because you may need information from an external ERP system, such as your stock on hand or your e-commerce system that knows how much stock you need to order live. So we will now allow you to automatically email in copies of any newly created external purchase orders, and we'll leverage our world-class data extraction technology to immediately populate a carbon copy of those purchase orders. You can then use Lightyear's three-way line-by-line matching functionality to automatically reconcile all of those purchase orders to your bills line by line, and then update the relevant purchase order in the third-party system. We're also going to be working on the ability to group lines on export. So Lightyear extracts line-by-line information by default, and we know that's a winner. However, we also know that some clients and customers don't always want all of those lines of information to go into our third-party accounting ERP system. So you will now have an optional setting where if you have, for example, 100 lines that's split across 3 different GLs and 3 tracking categories, we can automatically group those lines on the export so you only have 3 lines, and we'll group and summarize up the values. This is particularly useful for any businesses that are finding that limits within third-party systems in terms of the amount of data are starting to cause issues, because we'll be able to extract the line data in Lightyear, take advantage of awesome features such as price checking and line-by-line rules, but then group that on export so that only summary information goes into your accounting system. We've also started to work on our budgets feature. So tightly coupled into purchase orders and ordering is the ability to set budgets and make sure that purchase orders and orders are only approved when they're within certain budgetary limits. So we've started working on this feature, and we will allow you to set periodic budgets by department and different criteria. And we hope to have this in before the close of Q2. Lastly, our integrations team have started to work on some really awesome new integrations within the mid-market and ERP space. We'll not reveal too much more at this point, but keep your eyes peeled for further information on these exciting partnerships. So with that, that's a wrap for today. We hope you found this video really useful, and we'll look to do more of these in future. As always, please do let us know any feedback if there's other information that you would like us to be sharing out. Thank you.